Hello, everyone, and welcome to the True Awakening audio guide. Today, we're sharing the essence of this article's theme, and it's a truly profound story about a monk who didn't just face death, but actually welcomed it as his final greatest teacher. That's right, we're going to explore his life not just as a story, but as a kind of practical framework, a technology for living with complete awareness, right up to the very last breath.
And this quote you see here is really the key to that whole technology. To be nothing with anything is the crown jewel of the Dhamma. It's the core operating principle we'll be exploring today. It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? To be nothing? But just feel into that for a moment. It's not about emptiness in a bad way. It's about a profound kind of freedom. A peace that Luangpor Kamkian didn't just talk about, he lived it, especially in his final moments. So let's go back to the beginning. Try to imagine a young boy in rural Thailand. His childhood was really marked by hardship. His father passed away when he was only 6, and his days were spent out in the fields just working to support his family. There wasn't much time for play, for just being a kid. And yet, the article points out that even in that struggle, there was this clear pattern, an undeniable pull toward a spiritual path. It wasn't something he chose later in life. It was like an innate gravity from the very start. This timeline here shows the key turning points. At 15, he enters the monastery. But by 17, duty calls him back home, and he becomes what's called a spirit doctor, a kind of folk healer to support his family. You can almost feel the tension there, can't you? That pull between spiritual seeking and family responsibility. But that path, while noble, it just wasn't the final answer for him. Exactly. The real turning point comes at age 30, when a deeper seeking begins. And this search finally culminates in 1967, when he meets the teacher who would give him the key, Luangpor Kamkian. Can you just imagine that moment of discovery, when your entire world just shifts on its axis? When he met Luangpor Kamkian, he was expecting to learn traditional meditation, to sit in silent stillness. But instead, he was introduced to something completely revolutionary, a practice of dynamic, moving, moment-to-moment awareness. It wasn't about shutting the world out. It was about waking up to it, right here, right now. Okay, so let's break down this new technology he learned. On the one hand, you've got the traditional methods he already knew. Eyes closed, body still, concentrating on a single word like Buddho to try and quiet the mind. But Luangpor Kamkian's way was pretty much the opposite. Eyes open, body in this gentle rhythmic motion. The focus wasn't on quieting anything down, but on becoming aware of everything, every sensation, every thought, as it arises and then passes away. It was a complete shift from control to just observation. And the main tool for this practice was a simple, rhythmic hand movement. As you can see, it's a sequence of 15 distinct motions. Raising the hand, turning it, moving it to the chest, and lowering it again. But the goal isn't really to perfect the movement. The movement is just an anchor. The physical sensations are a tool to generate a continuous flow of awareness, a state the article calls Sati. So what does Sati actually feel like? Well, it's the feeling of truly waking up, maybe for the very first time. It's this profound shift in perspective. Exactly. It's not about controlling your thoughts or feelings. It's about becoming the viewer of them. You see the thoughts, you feel the emotions, you notice the bodily sensations, but you're not all tangled up in their drama. You're the audience, not the actor on the stage. What's so interesting is that this deep inner practice didn't lead him to retreat from the world. It actually propelled him right into it. He moved to Wat Pa Sukato and took on the transformation of a nearby village, Tama Phai Wan. And this wasn't just any old village. It was a place known as the Bloody Jungle, a community just plagued by lawlessness and violence. And he walked right into the heart of all that chaos. And just look at how this spiritual practice translated into direct social action. He established the region's first ever childcare center. He organized a rice cooperative. He even used the town's broadcast tower for daily talks. Yeah, and his work was so effective in empowering the community that the authorities actually accused him of being a communist. But for him, it was simple. Restoring the human heart and restoring the forest. They were the exact same work. And through all of this, he held on to this incredible insight. He said, "The work failed, but I did not fail." Just feel the peace in that statement. This was the direct result, the fruit of his awareness practice. He had cultivated this stable inner peace that just wasn't dependent on external outcomes. He was really untouched by the chaos of success or failure. And now we get to the final and maybe the most profound phase of his life. In 2009, he was diagnosed with terminal lymphoma, For most of us, this would be a tragedy, an end. But for Luangpor Kamkian, it became his ultimate practice ground, his greatest opportunity to teach the very truth he had spent a lifetime exploring. This was his core observation, the central finding of his final experiment with life. He made a really clear distinction. The body is sick, but the mind is not. He experienced all the physical sensations of pain and weakness, of course, but his mindfulness technology allowed him to do that without creating mental suffering. So the body could be failing, but the mind remained whole, peaceful, and totally free. Just let these words sink in for a moment. When there is pain, there is also non-pain. When there is dying, there is also non-dying. He wasn't denying his illness at all. He was pointing to a deeper reality. By remaining the viewer, he could be aware of the pain, but also, at the same time, be aware of the space in which the pain was happening. He could observe his own mortality without being completely consumed by it. His final days were just a masterclass in this practice. He continued his duties as long as he possibly could. On August 23rd, in his final hours, his body was failing, but his mind was not. There was no panic. With what must have been immense effort, he got up, cleaned himself, and returned to his bed. This wasn't a denial of death. It was a demonstration of a mind that was fully present, calm, and composed, even at the very, very end. And then came his final act of teaching. He motioned for a pen and paper, and he wrote a simple but powerful request for his students. You all, please let Luangpor die. It wasn't a cry of despair. It was an instruction of acceptance, a final, generous lesson in the art of letting go, delivered with absolute, total peace.
So what is the ultimate teaching he left behind for us? What is this legacy of peace? Well, it's the culmination of his entire life's practice. It's the principle he demonstrated so powerfully in his death. It's what he called the crown jewel of the Dhamma, to be nothing with anything. Just feel the incredible freedom in that phrase. It doesn't mean to be a nobody or to have nothing. It means you don't cling to, you don't identify with your experiences. You let pain be pain without becoming a person in pain. You let joy be joy without becoming a person who is attached to joy. It is the freedom of simply seeing life as it flows through you without becoming entangled. This, he taught, is the highest peace. By the way, you can watch the video version and see the complete slides via the YouTube link inside this article. We highly recommend experiencing the visual immersion of the light particles there. And so his life really leaves us with this powerful question. What if our greatest suffering could become our greatest teacher? He showed us that the deepest challenges, illness, failure, even death itself, they don't have to be our enemies. With awareness, they can actually be our most profound guides, revealing a peace that exists way beyond our circumstances. Now, for the deeper details, please take your time to read the text below. There is a special kind of stillness found in the written words. Explore the truth at your own pace. This is the beginning of your own soul's journey.